Begin today the Gemara on Daf Samaches Samad Aleph, about 15 lines down from the top of the Yamud, where the Gemara continues from what it said in the Mishnah, Mi Sha'achse Kurkidaikos, which is a name of a shed that takes hold of a person when he drinks too much wine, fresh wine from the press. So here, the Gemara begins with a pasuk in Koheles, speaking about Shlomo HaMelech and what he had with Shedim, as we'll see here in the continuation of the Gemara. So it says in the pasuk in Koheles, Shlomo HaMelech says, Asisili sharim v'shareis v'tanugis b'nei adam shida v'shidais. So what is Shlomo HaMelech saying here? Sharim v'shareis elu minei zemer. Sharim v'shareis refers to different kinds of music. So sharim and shareis are both music of a zachar and of a nekeva. The Marsha says that the Lashon Zachar refers to the Levium, singing in the Beis HaMikdash. And then you also have singing from the Keves. Or others say it means in song, when you have one singing and others responding, the ones singing are referred to B'Lashon Zachar, and the ones responding are referred to B'Lashon Nekeva. The Tanuga is B'nei Adam, the Tanuga is the pleasures that he made, Elu Breichais U'Merchatzais, refers to pools and bathhouses. Shida v'shidais, what is the meaning that he made for himself, Shida and Shidais? So Hacha here in Eretz Yisrael, or actually here in Bavel that is, Tirgimu, they translated this to mean Shida v'shiditin, that this refers to Shedim, to demons, a Zachar and a Nekeva. B'Marava Amri, in Eretz Yisrael they translated Shidisa, that this refers to a carriage that's made for women, for noble women. So here we see in this pasuk, according to one interpretation, it refers to this, that Shlomo HaMelech had for himself even Shedim, that he was in control of. So Amar Rabbi Yechanan said, Shloish meyes mine Shedim hoyu b'shichin. There were 300 kinds of Shedim in this place called Shichin. And Vishida Atzma, but the Shida herself, which is the mother of all the Shedim, or maybe a shed that has the name of Shida, Eni Yedeya Mahi. I don't know what its shape is or what its nature is. As I said, Rashi says, some say that Shida here is the head of all the Shedim, so I don't know what she is. Omamar, the master has said, that Hacha here in Bavel, Targimu Shidita v'Shiditin, that the pasuk, when it says Shida and Shidais, it refers to Shedim that Shlomo HaMelech had for himself. So the question is, Shida v'Shidisin lemai ibayale. What did David HaMelech need to have Shedim for himself? Why is he b'chlal dealing with Shedim? So the answer is Dichsiv, because the pasuk says, V'habayis b'banoisai Even Shlema, when Shlomo HaMelech builds the home, which is the Beis HaMikdash, he builds it with full stones, Masa Nivna. That's how he brought it, full stones. And in other words, what we learn from this pasuk is that for the stones of the Beis HaMikdash, you're not supposed to use any metal utensil to cut them. Now, the truth is that this issur of cutting with a metal utensil, you learn in the Rambam, in Hilchas Beis HaBechira, in the first Perek, he says that this says regarding a Mizbeach. But similar also, he did regarding the rest of the Beis HaMikdash, not to use any metal utensil to cut them. So Hamalul Rabbanon, Shlomo HaMelech said to the sages in his time, Hey Chiyavit, so what should I do? How should I cut the stones to the size that I need? Amrulei, they answered him, Ikke Shmira. There's a worm that's called a Shamir. Da'isi Moshe la'avne ephod, and Moshe Rabbeinu brought this Shamir. This Shamir was created in Sheshis Yimei Breishis, and Moshe Rabbeinu brought this worm for the stones of the ephod. And what did he use them for the stones of the ephod? So Rashi here explains, because you had the names of the Shvatim that were on the stones of the on the ephod. It was not allowed to be written because the pasuk says Pituche Chaisam, so you can't write it. It has to be engraved in it. But at the same time, though, you can't use a metal to engrave it, because then you're chiseling out some of the stone. And the pasuk there says that it has to be b'milu oisam, has to be full stones. So therefore, what do? They use this shamer, which cracks open the shape of the names without anything being chiseled out. So that's the shamer that Moshe Rabbeinu used, that has a tremendous power. You put it on any substance, it cracks it open. So they told Shlomo HaMelech, you can use this shamer for all the stones that you want to bring for the Beis HaMikdash. Amalahu, so he said to the Chachamim, Heichi ishtakach, where will I find the shamer? Amrulei, so they said to Shlomo HaMelech, I see Shida v'Shiditin, bring the Shedim that you have, which are Zachar and Nekeva, Kavshinu adadi, press them, in other words, pressure them, and like this, that they should tell you where you can find it. Efshad yadi, maybe they'll know, umegalolach, and they'll let you know. Aisi shida v'shidatin, so he brought a shed, a zachar, and an akeva, kavshinu adodi, he pressed them together, and Omri, they told him, Anan lo yadinon, we can't tell you, we don't know where this shomir is, but at least they shared with him information. They told him, Dilma Ashmedai Malke the Shedi Yoda. Maybe Ashmedai, which is the king of the Shedim, he could know where the shomir is. Amalahu, so he said to the Shedim, Heichi Isei, where is Ashmedai? Amrilei, they told him, Isei Betura Plon. They told him which mountain he's on. He's in a specific mountain. And there, Karyale Beta, he dug for himself a pit. Umayale Maya, he filled it up with water. Umechasya Betinra, he covered it with a rock. V'chasme B'kushpanke, and he sealed it with his seal. B'chol Yom, every day, Ashmedai, so what does Ashmedai do? Solik Lidikia, he goes up into heaven, V'gomer, and he learns over there in Mesifta Didikia, in the yeshiva in heaven. Then V'nochas Lare, he comes back here into the earth, V'gomer, Mesifta Dara, and he learns in the yeshiva in the earth here below. And V'osi, then he comes and Sayele Lugushpanke, he inspects his seal to make sure that nobody uncovered the water. And then he opens it up, Vishasi, and he drinks from it, and he covers it, and he seals it again. And Vazal, and he goes. So now what did Shlomo Melech do? Shodrei Libniyo ben Yoyada, he sent his servant Bniyo ben Yoyada to go and bring him Ashmedai. Now what did he give Bniyo ben Yoyada? Yav le Shushilte, he gave him a metal chains, the Chakikala Shem, which had the Abish's name engraved on it, V'iskase, and also a ring, the Chakikala Shem, which had the Abish's name engraved on it. And also he gave him Ogvavi the Amra, and he also gave him balls of wool, Viziki the Chamra, and barrels of wine. So Azal, so now Ben Yoda went there to that area where the pit of Ashmedai was on a mountain. Now this pit of Ashmedai was in the middle of the slope of the mountain. So now Ben Yoda went and Kara Beira Mitatoi. He dug a pit below the pit of Ashmedai, and he made a hole from the pit from Ashmedai, Vishafinu Lemaya, and he drained out the water into this pit that he dug. Visatminu Bigvavi Damra. And then he clogged up the hole that he made for the pit of Ashmedai with the wool that he had. And then what did he do? The Kara Beira Miloi. Then he dug a pit from above Ashmedai's pit. Vishavchinu lechamre, and he poured all the barrels of wine that he had into this pit. And now he made a hole that it should flow from this pit above Ashmedai's pit into the pit where the water of Ashmedai was, and it was now emptied out, and now it filled up this pit of Ashmedai. Vitaminu, and after he was done all of this, he clogged up the two pits that he dug, so that Ashmedai should not notice anything, and like this, he was able to take out the water and fill it with wine without tampering with Ashmedai's seal. And then Salik Yosef Bilana. Ben Yoda went and sat on a tree to wait until Ashmedai comes. Kiyasa, so when Ashmedai came, Sairei Lugushpanke. So he inspected his seal, and he saw that it's whole. Then Galye, he uncovered the pit of water, and Ashkeche Chamre. Instead, he finds wine here. So he didn't want to drink this wine. Why? Because he said, Omar Ksiv, the pasuk says, Let's ayayin, a person that's a scoffer, he drinks wine. Haime Sheikhar, you drink wine, it makes a person confused and it makes a person crazy. Anyone that stumbles on drinking wine does not become wise. So he didn't want to drink the wine. Uksiv, another pasuk says, Nus, inappropriate behavior, V'yayin, V'tirash, and the different wines. Yikach Leiv takes away the person's heart. So lo yishti, he didn't drink the wine. Kitzachi, when he got very thirsty, lo yisagilei, he couldn't handle it, and ishti, he drank from the wine. What happened? Rava, he got intoxicated, v'gana, and he fell asleep. So now, Nochis, Osa, so Ben Yoda that was on the tree, he came down and shot the Beishashilta. He threw chains around him, and Sasme, he had them there chained, and he couldn't move. Kiyisa, when Ashmedai woke up, have a come with Farzel. He was trying to get out. He was going crazy, trying to get out from the chains. Amalei, so Ben Yoda told him, Shma de Marach Alach, Shma de Marach Alach. the name of your master is upon you. The name of the master is upon you. Because they had the Abish's name in it, so he was telling him, you won't be able to move out of this. So kinokit lei v'asa. So now when Biyada went back with him to bring him to Shlomo HaMelech, so again, kinokit lei v'asi, when he was taking him and bringing him, mata dikla, so the shed, Ashmedai, he rubbed himself on a palm tree, and they came, that is, Mata Dikla, they came to a palm tree, and Chafbe, he rubbed himself on it, and Shadya, he threw it down with his might. So even though being chained, he lost his might that he had as a shed, but he still had this might here. Mata Lebesa, they came to a house, Shadye, he also rubbed himself on it and threw down the house. Now, Mata Gabikuva, Dahir Malta, they were approaching to this hut that belonged to this Almana that was living in it. And she already had seen what Ashmedai had done. So Nafke, she came out, she begged him not to destroy her house. So Kafala Kemasimine, he moved himself, he bent down himself, or moved away out of the way from this Almana's hut, not to break it. But what happened? Isbebe Garma. When he did this, so Ashmedai broke a bone of his own. Omar, when that happened, he said about himself, to Shove got him, that a soft tongue breaks a bone. Over here, because of this woman that was begging me, and this ended up breaking my bone. Now, on the way going to Shlomo HaMelech, different incidents happened here. He saw a blind person that was going off his path. So Ashmedai helped him go back on his way. He saw a person drunk that was going off his way. He also brought him back on his way. They saw a simcha of a chassan and a kala, and everyone was so happy. And everyone was happy. And Ashmedai, when he saw this, cried. Then he heard an individual telling a shoemaker, Avidli Misani L'Shev Shani, make for me shoes that will last for 7 years. Achich. So Ashmedai laughed at this. He saw this person that does witchcraft or a fortune teller that was doing this, and he laughed about him. When they finally came to Yerushalayim, to Shlomo HaMelech, they did not bring him into Shlomo HaMelech until 3 days later. The first day, so he said to the people, why doesn't the king want me to come to him yet? So they answered him, Ansei Mishtia, because he drank too much and therefore he can't see you now. So what did Ashmedai do? He took one brick and he placed it on top of another brick. So also they came and told Shlomo HaMelech what Ashmedai did. He said, this is what Ashmedai was showing you. Give him to drink even more. The next day, he asked the people, why doesn't the king want to see me yet? So they told Ashmedai, that he ate too much and therefore he can't see you. So now he took one brick off from another brick, and he put it on the ground. They told Shlomo HaMelech what Ashmedai did. And Shlomo HaMelech said to them, this is what he was showing you. Take away the food from him. Take away the food from Shlomo HaMelech. Okay, don't forget who we're talking about over here. We're talking about Shlomo HaMelech. And all the details of the story could be understood in many layers, physically, spiritually, until you have what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that when you learn the Agadata of the Gemara, Reiv Seidis Atayra Gnuzimba. So everything here is secrets of the Torah on a much higher level. Okay, the continuation of the story, what happened? After 3 days, they brought Ashmedai to Shlomo HaMelech. Now, Shakal Kanya, when Ashmedai came to Shlomo HaMelech, he took a stick, he measured 4 amas, and he threw it in front of Shlomo HaMelech. What was he telling him with this? He told Shlomo HaMelech, Mechti, let's see. When this person passes away from the world, that's Shlomo HaMelech, all you have in the world is 4 amas, the place of the burial plot. Hashte kavashte lekulama. So now you're alive, and you're a king, and you're so powerful. You conquered the entire world. V'loi savata, and you were not satisfied until you came and you conquered and came and captured me as well. So he's asking Shlomo Melech, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? Shlomo Melech answered him, I don't need anything. I'm not trying to capture you yourself, but really, ba'ina the ivnes lebeis hamikdash. I'm trying to build a beis hamikdash. V'kamibayali shemira, and I'm looking for the shomer worm. And I thought that you can tell me where it is. Amalei, so Hashemdai answered, Ledidi le'masali. The shomer has not been given over to me, but I can help you. I can tell you, L'sara de yame masale. It was given over to the Sar, to the minister of water. And v'lo yavle, and the minister of water does not give this shomer worm ela letarnagoyle bra, to this wild tarnagoyle, which Rashi here says, we'll see it from the continuation of the Gemara, that it goes on the duchifas, which is brought in the pasuk in Parsha Shmini when it talks about the various birds. The mehamele ashvuasa, and he's trusted with an oath that he returns this worm. Umay avid bay, and what does this tarnagoyle bra do with the shomer? Mamtile leture, he brings this worm to a mountain, the Lesbu Yishuv, where there's no settlement, there's no trees growing there, and so on. Umanachla ashina de tura, and he places the shomer worm on the peak of the mountain, on the teeth, or on the somewhere in the mountain. Upaka tura, and the shomer then breaks open the rocks of the mountain, and then umankit maisi bizrani meilani v'shadi hasam. So the tarnagoyle bra, the duchifas, then takes seeds from a tree and he throws it over there into this place, and what happens? V'hava yishuv, and it grows trees and it becomes settled. That's what he does with this shomer worm. And this is the reason why the tarnagoyle bra, it's translated in the pasuk as a nagar tura, which means he breaks open the mountains. Okay, so now they had to go and find this duchifas and to get the shomer from it. So Batko Kine the tarnagoyle, they went and they inspected the nest of the tarnagoyle bra the islay for the children that it has. Again, the way you read this is Batko Kine the tarnagoyle bra. They went and checked the nest of the tarnagoyle bra the islay bunny, and it had children there in the nest. V'chafuye lekine zugise chivarti, and they went and covered the nest with a white glass, so it shouldn't be able to access its children inside the nest. Now Kiyasi, when the duchifas came, boy the male, it wanted to enter into the nest where its children are, and it couldn't enter in. So Azal, it went, I see Shmira, it brought the shomer worm to crack the glass to go in. And it placed it on the glass. Now, as this is happening, whoever was the messenger of Shlomo Melech to bring the shomer, Drame Bekala, he screamed, and Shadye, he threw it out of its hands, and then Shokle, whoever was there, went and took the shomer, and Azal, he left, he brought it to Shlomo Melech. Now, Chonik Nafshe Shvuase, the Gemara says that this tarnagoyle that had made a shvua not to return the shomer worm, so it strangled itself because it couldn't fulfill its shvua. It saw that this could bring destruction to the world because this shomer could be used for all kinds of things, to break things. So now, Amar Le B'niyah. Now the Gemara goes back to the various incidents that happened before when B'niyah was bringing the Ashmedai. So on the way, different things happened. So he now was asking Ashmedai about his reaction to different things. My timer, what's the reason? Ki chazise la'ahu samya. When you saw this blind person, that he was going off his pathway, you brought him back on his pathway. It's not usually something that Shadim do. Shadim are usually harmful demons that not help a person. So why did you help him? So he said, because I heard that they announced about this person in heaven, that Tzaddik Gomer, there's a Tzaddik Gomer, and therefore I don't harm him. On the contrary, he helped him. And then I heard they were saying, whoever's going to do for him good in this world, will be zeichet ha'olam haba. And then he asked him, why, when you saw this drunkard, when he went off his pathway, did you bring him on his way? So he answered, because I heard them announcing about him in heaven, that he's a wicked man. And so I did what's good for him now, to go on his pathway, in order that when he comes in the world to come, over there he'll be annihilated. The third incident that happened, my time, why is it when you saw the simcha of a chasana, bachas, did you cry? So he answered, because I see that this person is destined to die in 30 days. And not only that, and the wife was her husband's gonna pass away without any children. And then there's the mitzvah of Yibum, and she's gonna have to wait for the brother of her husband, which is now just a baby. She'll have to wait 13 years until he becomes a gadol to be able to do Yibum. Now, my time, what was the reason why? Kishamati lahu gavre. When you heard this person, when he said to a shoemaker, make me shoes that will last 7 years, achichas, did you laugh at him? So Ashbadai answered, this person doesn't have 7 days to live. And he asks for shoes for 7 years. My time, why, when you saw this person that was doing kaisim, fortune telling and things like that, why did you laugh at him? So he answered, because I saw that he didn't even realize that the place where he's sitting on a treasure of a king. So liksaim, if he's someone that knows anything, so let him use his witchcraft to find it. And he didn't even find this itself. So again, liksaim mai, the ikket to say, you should use this to know what's right beneath him. That's why I laughed at him. Okay, now the Gemara says the continuation of the story, what happened with Ashmedai and Shlomo HaMelech. Tarche Gabei, so he kept the Ashmedai with him at the Banyul Beis HaMikdash, until he built the Beis HaMikdash. Now, Yom Echad, there was one day, Havakoi Luchudei, Shlomo HaMelech and Ashmedai were alone together. Amalei, so Shlomo tells to Ashmedai, Ksiv, the Pasuk says, Kisoya face, Re'eim Loi. The Eibishter says, I have Soya face and I have Re'eim. And we say that the meaning of this is the Eibishter is saying that he has the malachim that he created, and re'eim elu hashedim. This refers to the shadim that he created. So my rabusaychu minon. What's so great about the shadim that the Eibishter is saying that I have these shadim that I created? What's your power? Amalei. So Ashmedai said to Shlomo HaMelech, if you want to see shkoil sheshulta minoi, take off my metal chain, v'havli is kosach, and give me your ring, which had Eibishter's name in it, and I'll show you my greatness, how powerful we are. So that's what Shlomo HaMelech did. Shaklish l'sheshultamine, he took off his chain from him, v'yovle iskese, and he gave him his ring, and immediately Ashmedai got all his power back, and Bale, according to the version we have here in the Gemara, that means he swallowed Shlomo HaMelech, or another version here is Bala, he swallowed the ring. And then after this, he spread out one wing all the way to heaven, and in another wing here on the earth, and he took Shlomo HaMelech and he threw him 400 parsais, which the Mefarshim say that he threw him out of Eretz Yisrael, which is the size of 400 parsais. Now, Alahi Shaita, it was in that moment that Shlomo HaMelech says in the pasuk, "Ma Yisrael la'adam b'chol ha'malei sheyamal tachas hashemesh." What advantage does a person have with all of his toil that he toils here in the world under the sun? After everything he did, this is where he ended up. And then he also said the pasuk, "V'zeh hoyachalki mikol ha'mali," and all I have from all my toiling is just this. Now, what is just this? My v'zeh. Rav Shmuel argue about this. Chadama makloi. All he had with him was a stick. V'chadama gunde. The other said all he had with him was the clothing he was wearing. So now, Shlomo HaMelech was walking around begging by doors. Wherever he came, Omar, he said, Ani Kaheles Ayisi Melech al Yisrael b'Yerushalayim. I was Kaheles, another name for Shlomo HaMelech, and I was the king for Yidden in Yerushalayim. Now, nobody believed him. Kimata Gabi Sanhedrin, when he came to the Sanhedrin and he said this, Amru Rabbanan, the Rabbanan said, Mechti, let's see, Shaite b'chadem ilse leisarech, a person that's really mentally deranged. So he doesn't just say a foolish thing in one matter. Over here, we see this individual, this is the only thing he's saying. We don't see any foolish behavior in him or him saying any foolish things in anything else. So it could be what he's saying is true. So my high, what is this that he's saying here? Maybe it's true. Amrulei libniyo. So they said to Bniyo ben Yayada, which was the servant we spoke about before, Kaboylach malka legabe. Has the king summoned you lately? In other words, they had a suspicion, and maybe actually Shlomo HaMelech is not anymore in his palace, and so therefore they were asking him, did he summon you? Amaluhu loy. So he answered to the Sanhedrin, no. They asked by the queens, Kasi Malka Legabaychu, did the king come to you? Shalchuluhu in? So they answered yes, because here Ashmedai appeared like Shlomo Melech. Kasi, yeah, he came to us. Shalchuluhu, so, but they weren't sure if that's actually Shlomo Melech. Maybe it's a shed that's like, looks like Shlomo Melech. So they sent, the Chachamim sent to the queens, Batki Bekare, go and inspect his feet to see if he has the feet of a human being. Rashi here says, the feet of a shed is similar to Tarnagelim, to chickens. Shalchuluhu, so the queens answered back, B'muki Ka'asi, he comes in sacks, V'katavalu b'nidasai, and then they added also that he demands us for marital relations, even in a time when we are in nida, when it's not allowed, and also v'katavalu nami leBathsheva imai, and he's also demanding to be the marital relations, even Bathsheva, his mother. So now they understood what happened, that this is not Shlomo Melech, and here this individual is the king, Shlomo Melech. So Asyul Shlomo, they brought Shlomo Melech, and v'havalei iskase, they gave him his ring, Vishushilta, and his metal chain, the Chaka Kaleshem, which had the Abish's name engraved on it. Ki Ayol, when Shlomo Melech came back into the palace, Chazye Ashmedai saw him, Parach. He flew away. He got afraid from Shlomo Melech, which had now the Abish's name with him. And even after all of this, Vafilahachi Havelei Biesusa Minei. Shlomo Melech was still afraid of Ashmedai. The Haina the Chsiv, this is the pasuk that it says, that Shlomo Melech said, Hine mitase shel Shlomo, shishim gebayrim savavla. There are 60 mighty men around it, protecting him. The Gebayri Yisrael, from the mighty ones of the Yidden. Kulam achuz echerev alumde melchama. They hold swords. Ish charba yirecha mipachad baleilas, because of the fear that he had from Ashmedai at night. Rav Shmuel argued about this story here, the conclusion of the story with Shlomo Melech and Ashmedai. Chad Omar Melech v'Hedyet. One says that first Shlomo Melech was a king, but then he became a commoner, and he did not become a king again. But v'Chad Omar, another says, like we just said, this version of the story, how it concluded, Melech v'Hedyet u'Melech. That he was a king, and then he was a commoner after he was thrown out by Ashmedai, but then he became a king again. So as the Mefarshim say, that even the opinion that says that he was a melech and then he became a hedyet, it doesn't mean that he never became a king again. He did become a king again, as the story said before, but he did not become a king again ever like he was before. Before, Shlomo Melech was a king here, both in the world below and in the Olam Yisrael as well. But after this, he did not have the same power as he did in the Olam Yisrael.